Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ, and thank you very much for the comment there, shitlords. I appreciate it. Anyway, today's Future Friday, and I'm taking the plunge in uh, basically openly talking about the development of a free rules light tabletop RPG about post-human science fiction and all the mistakes I'm going to make and all the embarrassment and all that kind of stuff. And I want to share it out with you guys. And along the way, um two things are going to happen. One is like, why the hell did I make those decisions? And the other part, just this has nothing to do with game design, is just like I love science fiction and the speculative fiction part of science fiction, because great part about science fiction is it is fiction and we get to talk about ideas like, what if this thing could exist, how would it change the way we interact with society? And I love science fiction for that. And yes, yeah, Brunt, um, you know, it's funny because I use Canva. Canva's a very simple um, system that I use for thumbnails, and it can be used for producing many things. Of course, they have an AI system to make art, and they won't let you it prevents violent imagery from appearing because they put hard stops to it, so it won't let me make science fiction guns. And that's one of some examples to get some for my own personal enjoyment. It won't let me do it. Post-human, I like that. Yeah, yeah. Not pre-human. You're finding the best one to shoot a hole in the ship and get sucked into space. You know what? Yeah, we're going to talk about that too. Uh, so anyway, I wanted to talk about that. Let me get. You know what? Let me share. I Every time I do this in my head, I'm like, nah, I don't want to share that bullshit out. And then I go, yeah, okay, I guess I will. um, so let's see. Let's put this up here. Sorry. And let's get this. Where's my thumbnail at? Where's my document at? Very difficult for me to get that thing. DOC. Mm, 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 mm. No, I don't want the character file. Got. There we are. All right. Sorry about that, guys. All right, so let me share this out up here so that I can we can all be on the same page. And one of the difficult things about doing these things live, and despite the fact I've been doing it for a long time, is that I'm not very good at it. I have to keep telling myself, like, sheesh, not very good. All right. Black Star. See, Inking says, part of me wonders what that says about society. What do you mean? Oh, sorry, I missed that. I missed that. I thought about doing. Man, can you draw them yourself? Yes. As a matter of fact, I'm considering doing the camera flip and doing artwork while I talk to you guys, because some people are very visual, and just looking at my friggin' face is nothing. So I like to have something visual up, but I don't. I got a full time. My job is usually a 50 to 60 hour a week job, and so it'd be difficult for me to do like video editing and things like that to get like the cool imagery. So, but I have thought about doing artwork, drawing, pen and paper, markers, pencils, ink pens, things like that, while I talk, to get some more of my practice in, because I mean, I'm a mediocre artist, 3 to 4, but it would be pretty interesting. Did did I see Matt Mercer on the video game awards last night? No, but I've caught a bunch of videos of some of the larger streamers that I like, that are talking about their experiences with Matt Mercer, like Bob World Builder and Roll for Combat and Professor Dungeon Master, those kind of things. The Ant King says, I grew up with Star Trek and Star Wars, phasers and blasters, but lately I noticed that firearms are showing up more in sci-fi settings like Starfield, Starfinder, and of course The Expanse is one of my favorites, and they just use regular old firearms, slug throwers, firing bullets and things like that. Part of me wonders what that says about current society. I think it's easy. I don't know if it's part of it is common sense. Like, we human beings, we tend to keep using the same things that are easy to do rather than moving to something new. The automobile engine is a perfect example of the internal combustion engine. I mean, there's so many other technologies, but we still use it because it's just easy and simple and we already have it. Shai says, okay, how about you make your future guns so far out looking that the AI can't tell that they're guns? Have you seen images from, what's the Dungeons and Dragons adventure? Expedition to the Barrier Peaks. I have an old review of that on my channel because I still have the adventure. And the adventure was designed with guns that are used by humans or humanoids, but they don't look like the wand with a handle thing. It's like was strapped onto his shoulder and on the forearm with the thing that comes around the elbow and stuff. Yeah, it was. Yeah, did it. Yeah, 50 to 60 hours a week outside in the winter. Yeah, for 30 years now. To be honest with you, yeah, for 30 years. Yeah, thank you. But I don't know. Mailman, letter carrier, working for the government, and I don't. In my head, it's a duty that's a far above and beyond. So it's not like some people are just like, oh, the mailman, it sucks, and I don't get mail and everything. But it's more about continuation of government. And when you realize like you're delivering people's medications and their tax returns, there's some important things to them that might not be important to you, but it's important to them. I feel pretty good about it. And plus, I kind of a lot of older people don't have a lot of connections with the outside world. So if it's just a simple hello and hi and help someone like get their trash can from the curb or whatever. I feel like it's like a duty. I'm I spend more waking hours on my route than I do at home in many ways. So yeah, expedition to the Barrier Peaks. Okay, so um, we're gonna. I'm going to do this as an overview very quickly for people who really don't stick around because most people only watch the videos for maybe 5 to 10 minutes, and then we'll go back into some detail. So this is very I have a more detailed file, but I snatched from it to come up with this. So I want to talk about technology, armor, and weapons within the solar system that I have. By the way, this takes place in our own solar system, uh, known as the Copernican system, thus capital letters, the solar system, or the Helios system. But everybody just calls it the SIS and or the system. And we're going to talk about armor and modifications. So, uh, it being a rules light system, armor just comes in three categories: it's light, medium, and heavy. And the defender, uh, each armor type defends the wearer with 1, 2, or 3 points of damage reduction. Pretty simple, and it has 1, 2, or 3 spaces for mods. Light armor is anyone can have light armor. It's just it's light armor in this world is like a spacesuit. It's you just if you get a hole in one, you can go to a store and get another one and get one printed because there's actually thrinting is a thing in the game, 3D printing. So it's very easy to get. Level 2 medium armor is utilitarian, usually reserved for professional work. So you're a bodyguard, you are a space miner, you are a hazardous industry worker, something like that. That's usually medium armor. Light armor can be very fashionable. Medium armor is usually reserved for either you have some kind of you're rich, you have some money, or you're in an industry that requires you to be pretty heavily protected. I mean, if you're just a simple spacewalker and a surveyor and making sure there's no damage to zero gravity habs, you'll be wearing one. And then level 3 of course, is highly restricted, usually reserved for law enforcement, high security things, or very hazardous industrial locations, and it's almost impossible to cover it up as a civilian. And but there are but space suits and armor usually have some sort of modification to it that really shouldn't cost any points. And so there's a list of 12, it's a D12 system, a list of things that can be added to spacesuits that really don't cost any space. They don't take up any space, but usually most spacesuits have them. I didn't put, damn it. Why didn't I just put um, a simple way to seal the suit? Why didn't I do that? I don't know. Oh, Shai says, yeah, dude, postal service and fire department. Yeah, it's one of those things, like when you start to do it, you're just like, oh, this is just a job, and then after a while, you start getting. I start feeling an attachment to people and the places and stuff like that. I do get some tips at the end of the year. Tis the season, so yeah, especially the older folks that just kind of remember it and stuff like that. Yeah, space miners or space miners. Drew always love it. I love when you do that because I always do Freudian slip. Ooh, I don't want to. I shouldn't use Freudian slip and the word minor in the same sentence. Yeah, no politics, please. Will the blue face smiling show up? I won't show up. Sorry. Yeah, what kind of armor is this? Energy armor? Wouldn't pretty much any future gun defeat any conventional armor? Yes, that's why they don't really. That's why the points system isn't very. The defensive system isn't very high. It's usually 1, 2, or 3 points. But we'll get into some of the other features. So, very quickly, suits that have mag plates like magnetic boots, gloves, shoulders to attach to the outer skin when you are zero G walking. So mag plates. I didn't put boots. I guess I suppose I could put boots, but mag plates mean like you could sit down on a surface or use a glove that has a magnetic feature to it to attach to the outside of a thing. And it, of course, it includes cables. So maybe there's a cable system on the outside of a zero G hab or something like that. So there's also cable systems. Bubble system here in some spacesuits can turn into a bubble, basically fill eat all of the gloves and the boots and everything and turn into a small bubble. Mainly because if you have an injury or you have something like jewelry on your body or something, you are attacked and something pierces your suit, you may need to seal it from the inside. So there's a bubble system. Also, the bubble system allows one to blend in with someone else's suit to make one bigger suit, if that makes sense, especially if someone's injured or incapacitated or something like that. Emergency beacons, that self-explanatory. Um, a disposable. There are many habs where you need a real quick suit, real right now. That's not going to be used much more than the 5 or 10 minutes or hour that you need it for. So disposability allows them to be just kind of packed in a backpack, and you just pull it out and pull it when you want to. An external weapon mount. I put weapon, but it's basically external weapon. I guess I could have put slash. Come on, weapon. Let's put a gear because I use that word capital. Weapon gear mount because you need to use something, and the gear mount doesn't need to be on the forearm. It could be on the shoulder, on the back, something like that. Personal safety airbags, especially for those that are in low gravity or you're in a situation where you're in 1.0 gravity or even heavier. Sometimes you need to defend yourself against impacts, and so having airbags and being able to fall from great heights is a thing. Cable lines, the not only the ability to attach to cable lines, but to fire cable lines to draw yourself or a lost object or an ally in. Something else that doesn't take any space. Reentry parachuting, especially if you are, in a LEO, low Earth orbit. Well, actually, it would be LXO because it could be low Martian orbit or something like that. So a reentry parachute keep you from burning up. Glider wings. Glider wings are useful inside an air environment in a low or zero G location. So a dome city on the moon or Mars would have air inside of it, but you could have glider wings to allow you to fly within, excuse me, a low gravity place, especially Mars, because Mars has a lot of like extremely deep craters as well as crevices that are domed over and filled with breathable air. And some of the crevices are like uh, a few kilometers deep and allows for the glider wing use. Biomonitors, of course, biomonitors allowing other people to find out what's wrong with you, whether you're poisoned, injured, burned, unconscious, sleeping, things like that. Um, a stasis doctor is it's just a unit like if you are injured, it can put you into stasis or a cold sleep. Um, very useful, very much for like colony, for those who are going to the outer reaches of Neptune. I'm going to say it, Drew. Karen, and the Oort cloud and the Kuiper belt and things like that, and of course a comlink communications link. Uh, very much for armor. It's called 0 points, and then we're going to get into technology and talk about blueprints and things like that. Heathen, what's going on? Mm-mm-mm. I'll be listening when you get ready for bed. Well, I hope you are drift off to sleep to my dulcet tones. Shai says external weapon mounts. So there are internal ones too. Like, can you have your arm be a gun? Yes. Or a shoulder cannon, like in Predator? Yes, absolutely. And yes, there are internal weapon mounts. um, you can get a little bit of dark humor with an internal weapon mount, but yes, there are ones. The Predator shoulder cannon would be an external weapon mount, and it is. It is there, D. A politician would make a good airbag. Why do you have 6 politicians and a staple gun? Because I'm stapling airbags to my pants and shoulders. just grab a local politician by the waist, turn him sideways, and staple him to your hip. Oh man. The Yan King says in Superman comics, there is a character with the same powers as Supes, but his weakness is lead. But since he lives in the far future where nobody uses guns, he's perfectly safe. Yeah. It's okay. Deep lore. Daxamites? Daxamites and Mon-El. I think there's a character named Mon-El. He's a Daxamite, and all the Daxamites are like Kryptonians, but their weakness is lead, which doesn't really make much sense, but whatever. But yeah, and I believe that's it. If I reached in my ass deep down and grabbed a nugget of information, man, you can't really see that. I got it. All right, let's get this. There we go. All right, so here in this game, this is how I'm using technology and as far as explain it to you guys and how people have access to it. So I did not want to do I didn't want to do the shopping spree. Sometimes there are games who have huge lists of equipment, and there's whole game sessions where people go through the list of equipment. I didn't want to do that. But I also didn't want to make it absolutely the opposite direction, which is quantum equipment. In other words, the assumption that you have whatever you need. And while there is a bit of that in this game, I didn't want to make it so blades in the dark quantum equipment that it doesn't, because technology, this is far future, so technology does matter. So I tried to pick a middle ground, and that middle ground is during character creation, um, the basic choice is you get to pick one of these tech types. There's Razor Tech, and they all end with the word tech. So there's Razor Tech, Chemtech, Thermal, Neural, Bio, Laser, Blast, Vox, Kineta as in Kinetitech, Kinetic, Cyber, Nano, and Storm. And each of them represents a type of technology that is in the future. Now, when because this is far future and there's 3D printing and things, for the most part, it can either be problematic, difficult, or downright, just not possible to take with you to hoard all of those big guns and equipment that you're taking from Mars to a moon orbiting Jupiter. For the most part, probably you'll be, instead of physically transporting yourself from A to B, you will be beaming your neural network. Your mind will be sent to this other place, and then your zipper, your thumb drive, your cortical stack will be put into another biological body or frame or mechanical body, an autonomous mechanical body. And so your zipper will be inserted into a jacket, and you'll be walking around. But now that you're there, you're like, great, I'm in a different body, but whatever. I'm here. Let's go adventuring. Oops, I don't have armor. I don't have weapons. I don't have any of these things. I'm going to have to 3D print them. I'm going to have to thrint them up. And you'll use these blueprints. The word blueprint, I'm still keeping it blueprint in the future, even though they're not real life blueprints. But it's a much like dialing a phone, even though we never dial phones any longer. Um, it's the same thing. And each of these techs have their own weaponry, defense mechanisms, sensors, espionage equipment, and that. So if someone has access to Razor tech, you can print out a razor gun or razor weapon or defense against it. Now, what the hell is razor and all these other things? We're going to go through it, but let me see what you guys have to say, or questions. Questions. Stone tech, space Neanderthals. There are space Neanderthals. There's space Cro-Mags. They are they were created as a kind of I was going to say slave race. Yeah, slave race is the labor race, which is kind of effed up. And so, yes, that is a real thing. I'm not sure if we're going to call them Cro-Mags, but I like Cro-Mag as a placeholder word. All right, so Razor Tech is about X-rays and gamma rays, and um, each, like I said, I have a bigger file. You don't really want to see that. The bigger file is um, for defensive measures against X-rays and gamma rays. So each one of these has a defensive measure probably against what that technology is. So if you have that in your armor, like let's say you're in a hazardous you're in a fusion power plant or something like that, and there's a danger of radiation, maybe a nuclear power plant or whatever. When you attach that to your armor, it takes up a space, and that means the armor is double against whatever that is. So if you're wearing medium armor, which blocks 2 points of damage, with damage reduction of 2, instead is damage reduction of 4 against radiation. And Razor, Raxor, is Razor Tech is the place, not the placeholder word, is a slang term for this kind of technology for X-rays and gamma rays. Of course, there are X-ray scanners, basically Kindles that you can hold up to walls and look through them with like an X-ray scanner. Using X-ray scanners to find out like internal bleeding and wounds and broken bones, as well as razor weapons having X-ray scanners on them so that you can literally target people through solid objects and locations. The limitation on this is you do not want to use Razor Tech weapons inside of a hab because there are radiation alarms everywhere out in deep space. Now, mind you, usually the outer skin is resistant to radiation, so using like either a razor firearm, a razor carbine, or a razor heavy weapon or razor cannon usually will not be able to pierce the outer skin or defensive part of a space habitat. But internally, you could, but you're probably going to get yourself murder killed by the people who live there because alarms are going to go off everywhere. The radiation shields are going to start to come down. It's a whole mess, and you don't want to do it. So you'll be able to get away with it once, and after that, people are going to start hunting for you. Also, if you guys remember, there is a baggage system in the game where characters have gear and baggage, and one type of baggage, these are negative traits. Gear are all your positive traits, baggage are your negative traits. The more baggage you acquire, the more they bump out. So all negative baggage will start bumping out your positive traits or your gear. And one of those traits is being irradiated by radiation, which means that, if you get irradiated too much, you're going to have to find a way to cleanse yourself of the radiation. Uh, Cleansing yourself of radiation is pretty common, but it, as adventurers, you may not have the opportunity to find a place to get, to take anti-rad meds and things like that, and get clean, get your get your body clean from the radiation, which means if you target people or yourself by accident, you could become irradiated, and people can just easily find you. Then there's chemtech, which are chemicals and compounds. Chemtech is basically just everything that's chemical, powders, liquids, adhesives, acids, things of that nature, gases, and things and whatnot. Uh, Things that are affect someone, like a specific target, are possible but might be difficult. For example, you could make a compound that targets only people with green eyes or freckles or something. You could target people with a certain type of chromosome or whatever, which is pretty nasty. Also, chemicals tend to um, they tend to affect HVAC systems, the air and heating and ventilation systems. Again, something you don't want to do in a space habitat because people will want to murder kill you. It Dumping chemicals like a knockout gas or what have you, a tear gas or something, into a ventilation system is paramount to releasing radiation openly as well. So you really don't want to do that. Although there are chemicals that are used for defensive measures, like splat guns, which are down here with Kinetitech kind of thrown in there. Splat guns, basically, I don't know. It could be any color, I'm sure, but like getting hit with a big blob of black goo that will adhere you to, like, a the outer hull of a ship or something. If the authorities are going after you, basically like a non-lethal type of weapons and things. Then we'll get into thermal tech. Thermal tech is all the pyro and cryo technology. Basically, guns that shoot out, very hot plasma, or very cold nitrogen type things. You could freeze people in place, and things like that. Cryo and cryo technology is actually a little bit more reasonable used inside of a space hab, especially because you're going to need to use thermal technology to, like, weld bulkheads on because of damage, things like that. Crowd technology is used extensively to stop fires inside of a space hab, which is extremely dangerous. But turn the volume up and they become weapons and stuff, weapons and things of that nature. And of course, there's thermal technology will protect you from heat and cold for armor values and whatnot. Mm, 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 mm. Yeah, targeting people based on genetic traits. What is the name of this tech again? Yeah, it's under actually technically biotech, but you can make chemicals where everyone with gray hair starts coughing and hacking or something like that. It's pretty nasty. So the N King mentions, oh, Shai says, isn't this setting relatively combat light because combat has major consequences, right? Like getting sucked into space. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, also, not only is it, when I say combat, you mentioned combat light. Combat lethal, I guess, would be the thing. Like, you kind of want to solve problems by not getting into combat. Also, characters dying is probably going to be, death is not permanent. Deletion is. So characters sacrificing themselves or getting a blaster bolt to the back of the head is probably going to be more common than a little bit in more games. So characters getting killed and coming back is common. And we'll talk about, like, if you can't die, or you can't die that often. I mean, if you die and you can come back, does death mean anything? And it does. And Yen King says, so are these texts segregated from each other? Not technically. Is it sacrilegious to walk more than one path? No, no, it isn't. But it allows those who find sci-fi settings complicated to say you don't have access to this technology in this specific location, if that makes sense. More for world building rather than religious. Some places just only use one or two technologies because it's just very common, and that's it. Yeah. Stone Tech is the secular version of Rasta Tech. Hell yeah. um um the problematic issue of using technology to target people's genetics is one of the things. It's one of the many things that are going to be problematic for people who pick up this game, because there's a lot of problematic technologies as we become post-human. So moving very quickly, neural tech is about the mind, about blending the mind and machine. Neural tech allows one to modify, alter, edit, block, copy uh, memories, and there very little neural tech usage is in weaponry. Most of it is non-lethal. Like, you could use neural tech to access someone's pleasure center. Neural tech is used in medicine to knock someone out. So if you have a device, you could put it on their arm instantly goes dead. They don't feel anything, that kind of thing. But also the insidious part is basically affecting people's memories. And I'm still trying to write a chapter on telling adventures where the player character's own memories are not what they think they are. Um, and that's going to take a lot of trust from players to be like, oh yeah, how you think you're a badass assassin. Well, actually, you've only been an assassin for like 3 months, even though you have a whole lifetime of memories, and those memories were created in a virtual habitat, or those memories actually belong to someone else, and they're trying to hunt down these rogue memories because you're actually a clone from someone else, or something of that nature. Actually, you're a bad guy, but your bad guy tendencies were temporarily deleted from your memory so that you could infiltrate. Here we go. Do androids dream of electric sheep? It's the Total Recall adventure, right? And sometimes we have an idea in our head what our character is, and it might be daunting for a game master, the spiral, as they're called in this game, whatever, the game master, to tell a player, hey, you know what? The background for your character is actually artificial because you actually were sleep taught all this stuff, or whatever. Tell somebody that you're not the original, you're actually the clone of the original, or something like that. Laser tech is all visual, ultraviolet and infrared light sources. Also holograms, being able to modulate laser light for like underwater usage versus deep space. Laser targeting systems, laser measurement systems, laser painting for targeting from satellites, and other things like that. There's blast tech. Blast tech is microwaves and radio waves. Yes, you can have a microwave uh, fire at someone with a gun with microwaves. Not very useful against hard armor, uh, but light armor and below, and especially unarmored people, will probably burst their skin, which is pretty nasty. So yes, you can microwave someone with a gun. You know, turn your enemies into hot pockets. Also, radio waves, radio scramblers. Sometimes these weapons are called megahertz, and sometimes people call it freak tech, like frequency tech, that kind of thing. Vox tech is sound and vibrations. So Vox tech, laser listening systems, warblers making high pitched noises that can deafen you, hush fields, systems where you make no noise, using hush fields to have private conversations in restaurants and things like that. Also, vibratory systems to shake apart mechanical objects to shake apart their parts so that they they uh, they become broken, malfunction, as well as the fact that using high frequency sound to burst people's eardrums and whatnot. Now, the damage from the weapons is all universal. So light weapons, when you roll 2d, it's a 2d12 system. Light weapons use the lower of 2d12. Medium weapons use the higher of 2d12, and heavy weapons use the added of both 2d12 rolls. So the damage values for all the weapons is the same, but the side effects of each of these weapons is what really matters. So a laser cannon, which shoots X-rays and gamma rays, really pierces someone with radiation, and it's very difficult to defend yourself against it. Whereas, like maybe like a pyro or cryotech, a thermaltech weapon will set someone on fire or freeze them in place. A neurotech weapon might literally make them forget why the hell the thugs were coming after you in the first place. A blast tech weapon with microwaves and radio waves might disrupt communications or wireless systems, or heck, the microwaves could curdle someone's blood in their system and boil the blood in their heart, or whatever. Vox tech is sound that you can deafen someone or burst their eardrums. So, in all of these side effects are not only the damage you roll, but they take up baggage slots in your gear. So if you are deafened, that's a baggage slot. And some of these can stack. So if you're irradiated 3 times, it takes up three locations in your pockets. So you get 3 sections of baggage of being irradiated. You're walking around, you're damn near glowing, right? you know, nuke them till they glow and let God figure it out. I think that's the term is used for using nuclear weapons or something. So yeah, I know you guys are saying something. I'll get back in just a minute. Let me finish this out. Kinetotech are slug throwers, needlers, splat guns, smart projectiles. So any kind of modern day firearm is a kinetotech, as well as like needlers. Needlers are and splat guns are probably the 2 most common weapons useful on spaceships. Needlers, because needles don't pierce outer hulls. They're just needles with like maybe some applying some chemical to it, i.e., chemtech to it. Splat guns are basically like webs, cables, or a goo that will harden, and you can fire that at people. Non-lethal. Um, Also, storm tech is down here. That's also used sometimes in spaceships and such. Cyber tech is exactly what that means. It's basically taking the other technologies and being able to insert it in your body. Um, People who are cybrids have spaces where they can put the technology inside their body as equipment. So, for example, what's a good example? Someone has a cybernetic arm. They're a cybrid. They have a cybernetic arm. They have a space in their arm. They could put into it a cryo gun inside of the palm of their hand or something like that. There's nanotechnology. Nanotechnology is again, like the radioactive technology, the razor tech or the chem tech, nanotechnology is useful, but people don't like it. So nanotechnology is actually extremely vulnerable to X-rays and gamma rays, um, because everyone needs a safety valve to turn nanotechnology off. And so von Neumann nanotech is nanotechnology that propagates itself, is actually quite dangerous and very fearful. You don't want to let something nanotech get loose in the space hab. So while nanotechnology is possible and they are microscopic machines, it is heavily monitored. And so a player character that releases something nanotechnology, for example, they need to get through a vault. They apply a nanotech pack to the vault to disassemble the vault and to basically disintegrate it. The authorities are going to come. It's an alert is going to go off because free range nanotechnology is not something people like, and razor tech is often used to sweep the area with radiation to turn the nanotechnology off. Von Neumann machines are not vulnerable to gamma rays and X-rays, and it's a danger. And the last piece of technology is storm tech. It's electromagnetic power, static, lightning, electrical technology. Storm guns, they basically fire electrical arcs. Low powered, they're stun guns. Twisted up to like the highest cannon, like storm cannons, literally fire bolts of lightning. It's also used to shut down electrical systems, and they are used to disrupt uh, mechanical beings and things like that, robots, things like that, shut them down, overload their systems, things like that. Uh, Surprisingly, storm tech is actually allowed in space habs and starships simply because every once in a while you either need to reboot and start up or shut down a mechanical object that is not obeying the on off switch. So sometimes you might need to zap a robot that's out of control. Or you have a system that's shut down, you go on an empty spaceship and you need to start the engines up or whatever. You need a key, there's no batteries, so you need to use it. But again, uh, firing lightning bolts around space habs is going to get you in trouble. As I've said very many times, a lot of this stuff is going to get you in trouble, and the point of that, I see some of your comments here. Finally, um, the point of causing trouble for players is to outthink the problem. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Shitlords is like targeting people because of their genetics is problematic. Laughing with a laughing emoji. Yeah, just a little bit, just a little bit. If you understand where you can go with that. Juice says, I think it's fine to have problematic things in fiction as long as it's not hand waved away how they are problematic. Exactly, exactly. I am literally going to point out like this thing is a problem. Let me give you an example. um, Virtual realities. So I'm going to voice this out. I know you guys probably haven't thought of this, but I would like you to think about this possibility. Um, there are people in our world who have extremely deviant ideas about the world. Serial killers, pedos, um, uh, people who sexually assault others, and we hate those type of people. But in the future, what if you could insert them or they could live or satiate their desires with a virtual habitat of their own? Do you think that is a reasonable way to accommodate the people who have those issues, those deviant thoughts in their head? I'm not saying whether I think it's right or wrong. I'm saying if technology gets to the point where that's a possibility to solve that, do you think that's okay? Um, and I'm gonna leave that out there for like people who maybe even see it. Like, what do you think about that? And throughout the game, I'm going to have those issues placed in there, like um, genetic engineering, targeting people because of their genetics, gender, memory modification and deletion, those kind of things. Some of that stuff is very, very, very possible. Yeah, Shice is like memory implants, awesome. High tech gaslighting, hell's yes. As a matter of fact, if you could externally modify people's memories, you could literally become a dictator who can erase history and make yourself a god because memories make us who we are. If you take our memories away from us, you can change literally the foundation of who we are. It's pretty nasty. Um, the Yen King says if death isn't permanent and we can have multiple bodies, people probably have some crazy spares. Have one freakish chemically altered cyborg for exploring hostile planets. As a matter of fact, not only is that answer yes, I'm going to say that right now you just made a player character, right? Like, maybe on Luna, on the moon, you have a very beautiful um andro like body who's able to flow from one gender to another, and you go to these great crazy parties. But then when you're bored, you have like a roided out cyborg, three-armed barely human looking thing that delves into like the deep trenches of like Mars or something, and you do that for fun. So yes, that's a real thing. Holographic hot pockets is funny. Len King says, or using laser tech, one could have a holographic body that is all hard light. Yes, there are Holo Sapiens in the game. Yes, you can be a Holo Sapien. Uh, Len King says being defeated could be considered baggage. True. Yes. Being deafened, when you die, your character dies and comes back. You start gaining baggage. Yes. Drew says, has a permanent deaf person also has deafness in their baggage? Ooh, I hadn't thought about that. Maybe. Well, okay, so this baggage idea of like carrying around negative traits, and listen, there's a reason why I use the word baggage, right? We all know people in our lives that we look at them and we go, damn, they're carrying around a lot of baggage, right? Psychological, sociological, right? Economic. Some of us have some bills. That's friggin' baggage. Anything that stresses your life out is baggage, right? Uh, oh man. So sometimes the baggage that we carry with us, how do I say this? It shapes who we are and kind of becomes an armor unto itself, right? So yes, a character who is deaf in the game, and I'm not making a comment about the goodness or badness of a deaf player who I would love to play with someone who's deaf because I don't know how I would do it, but I'd be up for the challenge. I mean, we've got text and things like that. I would love to learn some sign language, but that guess what? If you're deaf, you're immune to many of the like Vox Tech, this sonic weaponry. You're probably immune to it. So yeah, yeah, having that it would be a thing, you know. Especially if you have a rationalization for it. Yeah, why the hell not? Yankee says someone in Star Trek made a self-replicating minefield. Space itself got a point of baggage that day. You don't want self-replicating. Self-replication. Von Neumann. Let's see. Von. I believe it's spelled von Neumann. Or at least I've heard it pronounced that way. That's the scientist who came up with the idea of self-replicating, amongst other things that scientists do. Is a pioneer in building mathematical framework of quantum physics, in the development of functional analysis, and in game theory. And self-replicating nanotech is often called von Neumann or von Neumann, and such. And so, yeah. That's a thing. Should come on back here. All right. Drew says, have you tried to turn it off and on again? I hope you don't mean the baggage. Yeah. All right. So, getting into the equipment, gear, baggage, pockets thing, because I do have another. Let me share the other doc. Oh no, Canva. Getting into that, what ends up happening is when you're the cycle is that player characters will go somewhere. Let's say they go to Mars, and the player characters will arrive in Mars, and when they get to Mars, they're going to want to have all their their badass gear, and getting all of their badass gear, they're going to probably have to get it constructed. So they're going to need to find 3D printers to construct all of their gear. And you let me move down here in the character sheet. Down here in your pockets, you're going to have down here one or more of these technologies. And so if you have a thermal tech in your slot, you could have print out a thermal scanner or a thermal cloak or a cryo gun or something like that, and you can print that out. It only takes up one slot. So the blueprint of thermal tech only takes up one slot. But when you go to the printer, you have to designate what am I printing out. So it is quantum equipment until you print it out. Now the problem comes in, and again, I love problem solving for players. The problem is you can't just print out guns. Most places don't allow you to print guns. The minute you start printing a gun, do, who the hell? Because everyone's going to want to know in a printer, who the hell is printing a gun and why do you need one? So you're going to have to players are going to have to be problem solvers. They're going to have to spoof the system or print pieces of weaponry and armor in different locations and assemble them later, or find a black market printer, or smuggle those weapons in somehow. But whatever shape, way, or form, for the most part, players are not going to be able to walk around fully armed unless that's the point of the mission. So if you're the game master, the spiral arm of the game, and you say, "Hey, on this mission, it's a bug hunt. You guys are fully armed." Yeah, I mean that's a GM fiat. Of course, that's possible. So here on the character sheet, this is the highly detailed shit in the corners and stuff. Um, this is the detail of the thing. I'm going to move down in the pockets, talk about that, and we'll get back into the attributes and whatnot. So you have a number of pockets. Your pockets equal your strive score, and that's how much stuff you can carry around with you. When I say carry around with you, I do not only mean physically. Um, Everything good and bad about you is stuff you have in your pockets. Your skills, your relationship with your parents, your dedication to your work, your morality, all of that stuff is stuffed into your pockets. Those are your good things. Every time you suffer a broken bone, or you suffer some form of psychological harm or fear, you're deafened, you are affected financially, and one of your investments goes out of whack or whatever, or you owe a debt to a crime lord, all of that stuff is baggage. The minute all your pockets are full, um, right here on the side, pockets full, question mark, strive equals 0. um, your strive score right here in the middle drops to 0. And your strive are like your hit points, right? And when I say hit points, strive is like willpower and stamina and um, your drive to move forward in the world. Because there's so many distractions that it's your willingness to move forward. And so when that drops to 0, points start coming directly off of your attributes, your force, flex, and fulcrum, and it starts coming off of your attributes. And so you don't want your pockets full of bullshit, which is baggage. And baggage will bump your gear, which is all your good stuff. So if you've got um, your conviction, which I changed from motivation, foundation, vocation, description, connections, location. Um, yes, you can get enough baggage to start bumping all this stuff off of your character sheet temporarily until you get to wipe the baggage off. And so when it starts to fill up, it's like, oh, you're carrying around too much. And we can narratively explain like uh the reason, why don't you have access to your cryo gun because of your baggage? Because of your dislocated shoulder. Because of you're distracted by the Lovecraftian horror that just got released from uh, I don't know, cryostasis on the starship. And the gun is dangling off a cable off of your belt, and you can't even grab it, right? Like it's that kind of thing. So anyway, yep, that's it. There, let me slide down here. There's a clean version of this. I'm going to change his hit location. Um, Thomas Anderson was talking about like the bell curve, the 2d12 bell curve. So I'm going to 2d12 this. This is what I did was I did this from 1 to 12, and then you roll 2d12 and pick the best one, or roll 2d12 and pick the worst one if there's baggage is in your way. There's an obstruction or something like that. But I'm not certain. I'm not certain. I might just make it a 2d12 and leave it at that. This is a clean character sheet. So, all the stuff is pulled off of it. And I'm going to stop right here with the attributes and talk about the attributes. And then but I want to see what you guys. Yeah, the End King says, "What kind of pocketfuls of bullshit?" Should be a Rage Against the Machine song. Yes, yes. Hells yeah. Yes, I suffer no fool, so I will not put them in my pockets. Yeah. Drew says, great. Instead of shopping, I can see how players waste entire sessions with finding the right printer. Yeah, a little bit of that. Um, I would hope, I would hope there's some time pressure involved in it, which is going to be a whole nother chapter about just using time pressure. I hope there's going to be time pressure so your player character is not wandering around the friggin' entire Mars trying to find the right printer to print out their bullshit, right? Because even if they find the right one, how fast is their stuff printed out to get the mission done? You know, yeah. And the well here, let me break this down. This is a design note. Um, when player characters involve themselves in other people's lives, other NPCs' lives, it's always a complication because they never know when they can trust anyone. So, um, 3D printing stuff is going to be a complication. More often than not, they're going to have a relation with at least one other entity to get what they want. Starship travel. In order to starship travel, they're going to probably have to either own or rent space on a six shooter. As I mentioned before, starships are fractional ownership ships. So in general, they will take six other smaller craft or habitats, attach them to the outer skin of the starship, and fly from one place to another. Six onto one frame, which is like basically seven, and they travel from one place to another. That means they have to find a navigatable ship and have to deal with at least one entity to travel from A to B. What else? If they're going to beam their minds from one place to another, they have to find I can't use the word ego casting, but they're going to have to beam or cast, they're going to have to send their digital brain information from one place to another, which means they have to deal with an entity at point A and an entity at point B when they get downloaded. So at every point, there's a point of weakness in the chain of custody of their own characters. And I wanted to build that into the world and, of course, make it sense so that players, being a murder hobo is not going to get you very far. In this, it's always going to be juggling the dangers of dealing with other people and other entities. When I say an entity, it could be an AI system, it could be a black market thing, it could be dealing with um, a 3D printer that people forgot about and they have to blow the dust off of it. It could be finding a place that's hidden, but somebody else owns it and they want to know who stole their bullshit, right? So it's always dealing with something else. And so that's the design note is players are not islands. And anytime you playing this game like Dungeons and Dragons is going to probably get you killed. And the Yan King says, in this world, bodies could be a sign of status and wealth. They very are. So for the poor people, every death is nerve wracking. The wealthiest have spares in every galaxy. Yes. Also, adding to what you have to say there, N King, there's prejudice. Uh, wow, this sounds like you were influenced by Marathon. I probably was. I don't remember, but it probably was. um, but N King, you mentioned that it's status and wealth. It's also prejudice, and what I mean by that is, it's a prejudice of status. So if you choose to live in a body that other people think is beneath them, then they are not just looking at you as genetically or mechanically inferior, but they're looking at you as like you chose to be mechanically inferior. And how do I explain this? We have in our society, we look down upon poor people. Let's put it that way. We look down upon homeless people and poor people because a percentage that we don't know what that percentage is. A percentage of people who are financially distraught, we consider to be lazy, right? That's just a human. We in our global society look at poor people as being lazy. Now, there's another percentage of those people who are very motivated, very brilliant, and have been put in situations where psychologically and economically they are in the same category as all the other poor people, right? Family dies, house burns down, divorces, um, drug addiction, depression, psychological issues, so many other things. Many parents sacrifice their own economic success for their children. But, society, we look at those people and we put them all together, right? And and the thing is that in a high-tech world, that still exists. So yeah, if you're someone who owns like six different bodies and you're looking at somebody else and you're like, you only own one, lazy ass, get out of my way. Even though we realize like maybe they donated their bodies to other people, maybe they're happy where they are, stuff like that. So yes, very very much like that. Very much. Dead Man's like a six shooter, like the Mirage, pronounced Mirage from Silverhawks. I haven't thought of Silverhawks in years, and I know you brought that up before. Let's go to Silverhawks. Mm-mm-mm. See some imagery here. Yeah, I remember that cartoon. Damn. You know what? While I loved all those what was it, like 80s cartoons, let's not pretend like they weren't commercials to buy like kid stuff. They were like half-hour commercials to keep them to pester your parents and buy like He-Man or Black Star, Silverhawks, Thundar the Barbarian stuff. Yeah. Yep. The Yankee says you could easily have a horror game based around a forgotten or cursed glitched printer. Yes, yes. Deadman says the cursed glitched 3D printer makes all food look like people's faces. Oh shit. Lifelike people's faces. Oh my god. Could you imagine that? You're like, I'm hungry. No, I'm not. You're like, no, no, give that to me. Man, that cheek tastes so good. That is horrible. That is such body horror. I love it. I hate it. Okay. Let me show this. Okay. Um, Something else that I'm still debating how to describe to you guys is how do I describe these attributes and approaches? You pick one, force, flex, or fulcrum on the left, and then you pick another one. Your For your character, you only have access to three of these, but you pick one of the three whenever you roll against a challenge. And you want to roll high, but not over whatever number it is. And of course, there's bold, careful, focused, subtle, swift, and wild. And that describes what you're doing. You'll notice there is no strength or dexterity score quite. There really isn't an intelligence score. And the reason for that is because 99% of player characters are going to have access to all human knowledge, like a cell phone, but the size of a button, right? It's actually called a button. Zippers, jackets, buttons, it's all slang. And your button is like your cell phone combined with a very low-tech AI. Literally, a player character has access to brain surgery. So, being strong or fast or tough or charismatic in this world doesn't mean much because somebody else can be just as strong or fast or intelligent as you, given the right circumstances. So instead, it's not about how strong you are, it's how you get a thing done. So force is the most direct thing, and anybody that uses force acts first. So there's no initiative score. Two people acting with force simultaneously, you go to the number. If those two numbers are identical, you go to the second number. Those two are identical, you go to the third number. You go to the third number, then you have a roll off. 1d12 for each person. Whoever's high goes first. Hopefully, you won't get to that point. But force goes first, flex goes second, fulcrum goes third. Force is the most direct. Unfortunately, it's going to get you, if you fail, it's going to get you the most baggage. So force is going to get you many side effects. If you fail while using force, you're going to cause a lot of additional harm. You fire a gun using force, you're probably going to put that laser blast through the bulkhead, right? You use a I don't know, a pyro gun or a plasma gun, you're probably going to start a fire. Flex is in the middle, um, where maybe using that gun instead of causing undue harm, you just set off an alarm. And fulcrum is a little bit more careful. You're using what you have available to try to get done using the simplest, least amount of energy, which means if you fail, you're probably not going to cause any undue harm to your region or to yourself or to the mission. So that's why it goes first, second, third. And then on the other side with your approaches, that's very narrative. Are you going to be bold and draw attention to yourself? Are you going to be careful? Or are you going to just be focused? Whenever you use an approach, you're not using any of the other approaches. So if you're using the swift approach, you're not being subtle or careful or being bold or being focused, right? It's that kind of thing. And so um, both an overweight engineer and a cyborg roided out mercenary, story and game impact wise, can be identical with the same numbers, if that makes sense. So the roided out cyborg soldier could hold a gun up to the forehead of a guard and say, "Let me in." The guard pees his pants and hits the button and lets them in. The same stats used by an overweight engineer, the engineer goes up to the guard and goes, "Dude, I got to get in there. I got to fix the thing. I don't have time to mess with you. Listen, do you want to call your boss? Because I sure don't. Let me just get in and fix the thing." And the guard goes, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, sure. Let you in." Blah, blah, blah. And they walk in, right? It's the same thing. So, and then you can modify those with all the positive stuff in your pockets. So if you have your convictions, anything that applies, you get to add +3. It's basically a max of +6. You can add +3 to one of your stats, up to a max of +3 to another other of your stats. That's why next to many of these, you'll see three boxes, and you check mark them. So let's say one of your boxes is sniper. So when you start your character, you mark off one box. You got sniper of +1. When you're in a sniper position, hey, because if you can answer the question, because ... I have this thing, I get plus something, then you have it. So, hey, I've got sniper, I get +1. Also, I have the stat of mountain climbing. I'm on Mars and I'm on Olympus Mons. Because I'm in the mountains, and I have a +1 for that, can I add that to it? Yes. The answer is yes. Because I'm in the mountains and I'm a sniper, those combined together, I get +2, right? So on and so forth. Or as character advancement goes, you can add more and more and more. +2, +3, blah, 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 blah. Ghost in the printer. He's so silly. Food like people's faces. That makes me think of Japanese dishes with dead octopi who still move when you pour soy sauce on it. Oh, is it because it reacts to the sauce that it keeps moving? That's pretty foul. That's pretty damn foul. So basically, long story short, that's how the game works. I'm still modifying it. We still have the bricks down here as kind of like a reward. Oh shit! I forgot to say this. One last thing: reward system. Where can I put this at? Okay, I'll leave it down here with bricks. Reward system. Minor rewards are bricks. So bricks are the unit of measurement of volume, mass, density, and weight that people take into space with them. So there are these containers that people put their crap into, and then they are stacked inside of containers, large shipping containers, and they're sent out into space. And back in the old days, you could only carry a limited amount of things. So there's stuff in the bricks. Sometimes it's dirty socks. Sometimes it's blackmail or nuclear codes or something like that, right? You never know what's in the brick. And these are very minor things. For more often than not, you're going to come out with playing cards, dirty socks, a moldy cauliflower, a human face, right? You're going to find those things in the brick. Okay. The greater reward are something called data cores. So an event that happened in this world is that a signal was sent from the Oort cloud that overloaded every single electronic and data system in the entire solar system. And it swept through the entire solar system, to the point where the overload filled every data system with information and shut it down. And over time, these data cores were lost. Many of the information was deleted from them. The data cores were yanked out of the system, and new words were put in. There were reboots, there were deletions, and got back. Come to find out that this each of these data cores had so much dense information on them that it was almost, I want to call it arcana tech. It was technology that came from the Oort cloud, and no one knows who sent it. But everyone knows the data is readable by human beings. So some people think humanity sent it back. Whatever the case may be, these data cores are scattered throughout the solar system. Some people are trying to get them back. Other people are trying to destroy them. Others are trying to exploit them. Black markets trying to use them. Data cores are your one-shot magic items of this system. And people are buying, trading, selling them, and killing and murdering each other for these data cores. So bricks are very minor objects you can get with a very low chance of getting something useful, but bricks are a value unto themselves, even if you don't open them up, especially if you don't open them up. And then data cores are something else. Data cores are like ciphers. They're like loot drops, things like that. Like, for example, a data core could literally open up a wormhole, and that's it. Yeah, it is 12 after, yes. The Yen King says, your reward are bricks. Are they measured in kilos? No. They're measured. A brick is a slang term for an object, a sealed container, which measures the weight, mass, density, and volume of whatever is inside of it. So you don't know what's inside of it, but the brick is designed so that whenever you send something into space today, they measure everything, the space and the volume, to take it out into space. And so it became a very common thing. Like, hey, what did you bring with you? Hey, what did you put in your brick? And some people are, oh, it's family photos. Someone's like, what did you put in your brick? I put weed in it, and my I put weed and top paper, and you know what I mean. Like, oh, what did you have? Dirty laundry, right? Yeah, the devil's responsible for the data cores. Yeah, it is, the data cores are the literal MacGuffins of this game world. They are unexplainable, and I will never explain where they came from. That's up to you. So, like, is it a signal from an alien race? That's up to you. Is it a signal from humanity that went out there and discovered something, and they have ascended our own galaxy and gone off to the Alpha Centauri, and they left behind a gift? Sure. Are the data cores a forward weapon system by humanity that's going to come back and wipe out all the rest of humanity because they know what's going to happen when they spread like a cancer throughout the galaxy? The answer to all of that and the above. Elder gods, I don't care. AI system that's so Lovecraftian in its mindset that it doesn't even see humans. It sees a human no more than a termite, right? All of that is true. So that's what data cores are. So anyway, it is, the N King has told me that I need to get my ass out of here. So thank you very much for letting me share a number of these things with you. I'm going to share something else with you as well. Let's see if I can freaking find this here. Let me stop sharing this and then share out some logos. I want to share out. Yes, I want to share out this logo. I want to boop, 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 boop. So uh, right here, here we go. Right here, I have some some logos that I've been working on, and just coming up with different colors for them. So it's like black on white, white on black for Obsidian, Obsidian Star. I was going to put a big OS next to it, but it's not an operating system. I might call it ObStar, but I don't know. I'm maybe or maybe not. And so yeah, Obsidian Star. I might even make some. Not today. It might be within a year, maybe some merch and stuff. So just made some different colors for it. So yeah, different Obsidian Star. Can you see it? Oh, you can't see it. Shit. You can't see it. Here we go. here. Come on, come on. Let me. There we go. Woo! Fuck. Yeah. Logos, different colors. Same logo, different colors. I happen to like the red, black, and white thing, but I made some black and white ones too. So yep. So anyway, thank you guys for being part of the show. I want to make a cyberneticist. Ooh, I like that word, cyberneticist. This setting is really cool, by the way. Thank you very much. Thou shalt not interrupt the flow. Thank you very much for that. Drew says, somehow I must think about the film Event Horizon. Yes, because of the data cores. Yes, Event Horizon. What's the other one? Sphere kind of comes to mind too. He said, I like the red star with the black background. Let's see. Let's go ahead. I think it's this way. Yeah. Because it's a bit stark. I like this. The not stark. It's like a vivid thing. Thank you very much. So somehow I think about the film Event Horizon because of the data cores. I really like those and appreciate that it remains open to interpret however the spiral of any given game sees fit. Exactly. Thank you for using the terminology. Listen. I'm a terminologist, so forgive me for that because some people can give me the middle finger. I get that. Don't worry about it. You're right, but I would like to keep it up for interpretation. And the side effect of acquiring these data cores could leave you with baggage that is not physical. So fear, doubt, paranoia, hallucinations, um, uh, 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 obsession with thinking about the future. All of these things are possible if you start carrying around too many of these data cores. And the data cores are like ciphers. They are Magitech. You plug them in. Is it so faster than light travel does not exist? What else doesn't exist? Wormholes don't exist. There is nothing like that. But you could find a data core that literally opens up a wormhole once. Liberte to teme ex inferinus? I do not know what that means. And the thing is, I can't copy and paste that to find out what it and find out Google what it means. I think, but anyway, yeah, goody, no fake shit. Yeah. None of that. There isn't any of that. These data cores are like one and done. A burnout data core still has a value because one data core could actually lead to another one and things like that. So yeah. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I don't know what that Latin phrase means. My sorry, my feline producer wants my attention. Yes, you gave me an hour. I appreciate it. Thank you. So, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Oh, it's an Event Horizon quote. It's an say hello to everyone there, Sophie Soph. Yeah, Sophia Loren. Yeah, you're pretty. Sorry, deliver safely from hell. Yeah, I'm gonna need that. It means deliver safely from hell. Basically, liberate, probably liberate oneself from hell or liberate the body from hell or something like that. To tem I don't know what that means. I have to assume that's what it means. The only part of the movie that was really cool. I still like Sphere. You guys don't like to talk about Sphere. Oh man. But anyway, thank you for letting me express the world and how this game. Yeah, I not an icy hell in Ohio yet, not yet. I think it's going to be in the mid 50s today. But again, I want to thank you guys for letting me express myself and express what this is. Again, I'm not going to sell this because I'm horrible at salesmanship, and I don't want to be a marketing guru or any kind of bullshit like that. But what I will try to find is a way to get this to be able to be printed because I really do want to make this like a hardback kind of thing. But yeah. You guys. Space Ghost could be Event Horizon. Oh, Space Ghost. Don't make me press a random button on my forearm. Jan and Jace. Yeah. And Jan, Jace, and Gleek? Dude, you have to be a marketing guru. No, 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 no. I can only sell things I believe in. And if I have to be able to believe in myself. I don't know if I can believe in many other things though. You know what I mean? I mean, there's so many options out there in our own TTRPG community, man. So there's some brilliant bullshit out there. I love it. There's some people that are doing stuff. Yeah, thou shalt self promote with impunity. I'm gonna make a T-shirt about that. Yeah, just a big giant T-shirt, just a giant word self promotion. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I'm going to take you out with a little bit of slightly Lovecraftian, slightly Byzantine music as we get out of here. So, guys, everyone, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it, and thank you for indulging me on these future Fridays. So, guys, have a great one. Oh, side note: if please poke holes in the development of this. So you guys know, don't hesitate to go, well, I don't know if that makes sense if A and B leads to C. So because I'd like to incorporate a lot of that stuff. Yep, happy ending to a small fraction of eternity. Guys, have a great one. Have a great weekend. Thank you very much for being here. Peace and out.